Okay, you ready, June?
Yes.
Okay, well, I want to welcome the folks that are signed on. I see several new people who have just logged on, and I don't know how many of you are familiar with June Pardue's work, but I can say I've had the pleasure of knowing June and working with her since the early 1990s or mid 1990s at least. Many years ago, she was, and not only many years ago, but since then too, she has been an artist demonstrator and an artist in resident at the Sheldon Jackson Museum. She teaches classes, probably more than I drive into town. She has been a real inspiration for people I know in using fish skins and working in that material, as well as glass basketry and all kinds of things. So I'd like to welcome, on behalf of the Friends of the Sheldon Jackson Museum, June. And also I want to note that last year I learned her recipe for making lingonberry sauce. I didn't have those, but I did have cranberries, and it worked very well, and it was very nice. So anyway, welcome, June, and I'll let you go ahead and have other comments, and we'll get started right away on these ornaments.
Yes, thank you, Rosemary. Yeah, Rosemary and I have known each other and become friends since the early 90s. And I've always appreciated the invitations from the Sheldon Jackson Museum for me to demonstrate there during summer months. So we'll get right straight to this. I was born in Old Harbor Village on Kodiak Island. My native name is Sacha. My mother is Sophia Jane Johnson, and she was born in Piktaalik Reindeer Camp when Sinrock Mary was operating her reindeer operation that saved so many Native people from famine. She was stationed out of St. Michael, where my mother was raised. My father was Jacob James Semyonov Sr. His Alutiiq name was Kumariaq, and that means eagle. His best friend and chief partner, Kostya Inga, gave him that name from Old Harbor Village. Old Harbor at one time was known as Nunyak. And I'm glad to say that my grandson, Derek Shaya, who works for the Alutiiq Museum, has been working on place names for Kodiak Island. And Nunyak is the old name for Old Harbor Village, where I was born. I'm going to get right into this, jump right into the project that we have, and it's a sealskin Isuwiiq, Isuwiiq ornament. So the Isuwiiq in Alutiiq is seal for our harbor seal, and I'll just get to showing you some pictures of the supplies that I'm going to be using. And if you're watching this Zoom demonstration, you're welcome just to watch along and then to gather your material, whether you use fish skins or not. I have grandchildren who are using upcycling material that they have at home. So let me turn this around so that you can see the projects I have going on my table and all the supplies you'll need. So here we go. First of all, you need the template. And if you can send your email address to me at June Pardue, JUNEPARDUE at outlook.com. I have this scanned so that I could email the template for you that you need for making your ornament. And I've got beads right here that I'm using. These are a size 6 beads that I picked up a few years ago, I believe from Fire Mountain Gems or from Shipwreck Beads. And these are a Pracosia bead or Pracosia bead, however they say it. And they're in a size 6, which is wonderful. I have the Nymo thread, which is a beading thread, and it's in a size D. It doesn't have to be in a D. You can use wax thread if you have that at home. I have cotton balls that I grabbed from my stash in the bathroom, you know, just for cosmetics. So I grabbed 4 of those. That's all I need. I did cut out of the wolffish skin that I have. I love the dots on that. Look at that. Makes it look like a real seal in red, in burgundy. So I cut this out using this pattern on the wolffish skin. And then the backing is just some extra buffalo hide that I had laying around in my craft room. And the size 6 beads, I went through the thread. I make sure that I have a good pen for tracing. And I've got my good scissors. These are craft scissors that I ordered from Tandy Leather. I think they were like $13. Make sure you have a pen. And I like to have my pliers. I'm using a needle, a skin sewing needle, and it's a size 6 skin sewing needle. You don't have to use a sewing needle if you're using felt, fancy felt, or other cloth. You can use a size 10 beading needle, which works really well. You don't have to use a size 6 seed beads. You can go as small as size 10. And let me show you real quickly what a size 10 looks like. You could get those from Fire Mountain Gems and places like that. Here's a headdress that I made using fish skins and size 10 seed beads. Those size 10 beads are on this ornament. This is fish skin ornament. And then I picked up faux leather from Tandy, from Joanne Fabrics. So this is fake leather in back, which makes it real easy to poke through. I do have this sealskin ornament made out of salmon leather. And the backing is the scrap leather I had in my craft room. I did pick up some of this ribbon, and I think I got that from Michael's, just fancy ribbon that I use for hanging. And we don't even have to use ribbon. You can go like I did with this ornament right here, this fancy salmon leather. I went with beads for hanging it onto this little cute little tree hanger thingy. So that's what I use for my supplies. Now, what I'm going to do is pull my project forward to me. Let me get this situated. I want to make sure that you can see my hands really well. I'm not going to be holding the project up so that you're looking at my face or anything like that. I want you to have your eyes on my hands as I'm working. So I gathered, I kind of got a head start because this is just simple beading anyway, for you. So what I have here is my ornament pattern. I traced this with the pen on the back side of the wolffish. And then I traced a backing out of scrap leather that I had laying around. So I just laid this on top of my work. So I've got this going on here. I start at the tail end. I double my thread and tie a good knot. And then I hide my knot in between the 2 pieces of leather right here. I put 2 beads on, poked down, pulled my string tight, and then I came back up. You're going to watch me as I demonstrate how to do this in a bit. I came back up with my thread. I went through the 2 beads to anchor them down securely, and then went through the 2 pieces of leather. Then I made a stitch over from behind and came up here and repeated the process. Okay, so now you get to watch how I do this here. And now for the tail, I just did 2 beads with my stitching. And then for the body of the Isuwiiq, the seal, I am switching over to using 3 beads as I bead. Beading through the 2 pieces of material attaches the 2 together without having to sew it. So the beads, just putting the beads on helps to sew the 2 pieces together. I got my needle. I want to get everything out of the way that could cause me to get tangled up. So here we go. I'm going to put 3 beads, just pretend there's a knot in between these 2 pieces of material. I knot it and I go through this back piece of leather, then I come back and then come through the seal, through the fish skin. So now I have my thread sticking out. I'm going to add 3 beads to it. 1, 2, 3. 3 of these beads on my needle. Push this all the way down. I want to make sure it's all the way down. And then I pull this over straight so I know where to put my puncture. Can you see this well enough? And then I will poke through. And I do this so that my lead beads lay flat on the project. And this is going to be repeated over and over and over. Now, if I'm really making a secure ornament, I'll come back up right next to that bead.
Sorry to interrupt, June.
Yes.
If you can move your hands up slightly, they're a little
Thank you.
beautiful. Thank you so much.
Okay, so now I'm going to use my plier. When I use my plier to pull my needle, I pull straight out. Don't bend your plier because you'll bend your needle and you will break it. Okay, so this I pull. I've already tacked it down, but I'm reinserting my needle and thread through here to make sure that it is a nice, sturdy ornament that I'm making with beadwork on it. I don't want those beads to separate or come out of my work. I have to remember to keep pushing this forward. I am not beading as close to me, my tummy, as I'd like to. Have to make adjustments for teaching Zoom classes. So this is what I've got going so far from the tail up to this part where I'm going to make a loop of beads for hanging the Isuwiiq seal ornament. So on the back side, I want to stitch. Okay, this means I need to pull this. Okay, on the back side, you're going to see stitches. See all of these stitches back here? It's just like sewing. Now I'm going to scooch on over 1 stitch over, and I've got these, trying to keep these spaces evenly placed. I'm going to grab my plier. I'm going to pull straight up. I'm not going to bend my hand. It's so much easier if you just rotate your hand as you're pulling that plier, but I've broken too many needles by doing that. 3 beads. That's in Sugpiaq language, counting up to 3. And in Tlingit, it would be play, desk, nask. Okay, so there we go. Lay it down nicely so that you know where to put your needle in. If you don't do this, you might end up with your stitch too short and your beads won't lay flat. It's so much fun to bead. It's nice to get your family around the table and bead with them. Now I'm going to backtrack from behind. I'm going to go back and insert sometimes I have to lay my needle, the head of the needle down on my pad or on the table. It didn't get it in the right place. That'll happen. Straighten your thread out so that it does not tangle on you. Okay. This will have to do. I like to use a plier when I'm working with the skin sewing needle, because when you look down at the skin sewing needle from here to the tip, it is three-sided. It's a triangle actually when you look down into it, and each side is razor blade sharp. And they have to make the needle like that for skin sewing, because it pierces through your leather really well. This is going to be, you're going to, now that I'm done explaining it, I'm just going to sew along so that you can watch how I stuff it and sew the belly part of the seal up so that I can close up the ornament. Later, I'm going to come back and I'm going to put a loop of beads to hang. Okay, so now I'm just going to bead along. Sometimes I find that leather stretches and I have my scissors handy. Alutiiq maluk pingayon. Cleich dich nask. So here we go. Let's put these beads down. Sometimes leather travels and it stretches, and then that's why I have my scissors real handy so that I can do some trimming if I need to. It looks like I won't need to with this seal ornament, but who's to say that I won't, that I won't be trimming, because I might. Now, I've gotten to the point where I've really sealed this up. There are times when I just sew along and I don't reinforce those beads because I know I've got a good thing going here. Catches on the tail. So let me tell you a story about seal meat. Seal meat is so good for you. It is very high in iron. And I can remember when I was in my 20s and pregnant, how my aunties and my mom would tell me, you need to eat seal meat. And I asked them why, and they shared with me that it's real high in iron and your body needs that nourishment while you're pregnant, and especially after you have the child, because your iron levels drop. So I'm going to poke my needle up. This table is like 25 years old, so it's got character to it. It's got a lot of holes in it from me beading. Leich dich nask, or in Sugpiaq, Alutiiq maluk pingayon. Lay that down. this here. This is a really fun thing to do with family.
So it looks like we
Along,
got, oh, I'm sorry to interrupt.
go ahead.
It looks like we got a question in the chat box. The
Very
question is
nice.
Heather, and she's asking, is the wolffish skin tougher than salmon skin?
No, I guess you could say it is, but it's thicker. It feels like deer skin. And it's easier to sew through because the pores are larger than that of the salmon, but it's very, very durable. Very, very durable. So here we go. And I'm glad you're moderating for me so that you can read the chat questions and chat comments to me. If you have a shiny bead that you want to put at the very tip for the nose, you can do that. I grew up eating seal meat, a lot of it. And I still crave it. Living inland like this, it's not accessible to us. And every now and then, every other year or so, I'll have to get my husband to hunt for seal meat for me so I could have the oil too. But I'm real fortunate that we have a young friend who's in Sugpiaq. He likes to go out seal hunting, and he will share. His mother is generous too, to allow him to, well, as part of our culture, you share what you have. And he'll share seal meat and looks like, and seal oil. Look, this is too close to the tip. Too close to the tip of the nose, so I'm going to remove one bead. Take that off. I'm at the tip where it could be difficult maneuvering your fingers and poking a hole there. So I, as an experienced beater, I just hang on really close to the work so that I can puncture a hole here. There we go. Onto the tip. Now I'm going to rotate my work, and then I'm going to begin to closing it. And when I get to this point right here, that is when I will start to stuff the head part. So flip this over. I want to take a look at my stitching. Okay, that's fine. I don't have any big loops because I've been making sure to pull on my thread here and here so that I don't have little loops of thread. And if that happens, it happens, right? So I'm going to skip down to here. Here's where my thread comes out, and I'm going to make a stitch here. You're just going to watch me bead. Bead and sew. See how this kind of like bubbles up? When I see that happening, I go back, and this, when you're making vests and whatnot, and you're stitching along the edging, this is what you want to do to have the beads lay flat, especially if you're working on a garment. Here's another way to poke holes. You have to hold the tap on the nose of your needle nose plier and push it. When I was younger, and I'm 70 years old, when I was younger and my hands were more nimble and I felt like I had more muscle, strong muscle. I didn't need to use pliers, but they sure come in handy. Pull that down so I have the edges together nicely. Like I said earlier, you don't need to use big beads like this. And all my ornaments sold. We had a really good bazaar in Anchorage at the Alaska Native Heritage Center. And I did some lace beading on the Isuwiiq ornaments, which meant I did lace work here. All, you know, like you do on your barrettes and whatnot and earrings. That's another way of beading around your ornament. Okay, I'm to the point where, almost to the point where I'm going to be adding cotton balls. I feel like I see a loop there, so I'm going to pull on these pieces of thread. There, got rid of it. So there are different ways to cook seal meat. I like to take the ribs and, you know, roast them. You can coat them with flour and season them, and add some water to your roasting pan, like about a half cup of water. Really roll your ribs up in that flour, and it helps to make its own gravy. Really delicious. And then later, you know, keep it real tight in a roasting pot. We like to use those enamel cast iron pots. Keeps the moisture in them. And after baking for about an hour, I pull it out at 350. I pull the whole thing out and carefully take the lid off to see if you need to add more water to it. And at that point, I might chop up some carrots and potatoes and onions and throw that in there. The old timers like to make sure that we have fat added to our baking. Okay, I want to add cotton balls before I go any farther. So I'll take one of these and I'll open it up, do this. I made sure that I had on my table the long nose pliers so that I could push this in there. And I also like a pen or a pencil with the eraser part of it for shoving the cotton ball in. You don't need to use cotton balls. I'm frugal, and rather than going to the store for, you know, the batting or the quilt stuffing for that's pillow stuffing or whatever you want to call it. Other kind of stuffing. I just do this. Now, just to add something different and exciting, throw in some eucalyptus leaves in there to get that Christmas smell in your ornament, that, or whatever you want. I wouldn't put oil on the cotton balls because it'll seep through this and stain it. But I have cedar oil. That I want to use on the back side of wooden ornaments that I'm going to be painting. You can get those little oval or round or tree-shaped ornaments from Michael's or someplace like that. You can order it, and after you're done painting your ornament and getting the ribbon on it, or maybe you're going to glue sequins on your wooden ornament. After you do that, then you can put a dab on the back side of cedar oil. And then before you know it, you've got a Christmas tree that smells like cedar. All kinds of things you can do with ornaments. I'm just getting this one ready for having to stuff after I put some beads on here a little bit. I ordered my cedar oil from, so there's a lady in Ketchikan, I can't remember her name, but you can, look for her on Facebook or Google cedar oil. When I was a kid, I remember our Sugpiaq family members ordering cedar oil from the Tlingit, and they would make these porpoises. They would carve out these porpoises, and it was that Sugpiaq game, Alutiiq game that they played with darts to dart throw at the porpoise, and the men would have to sit down and boys would sit down like they're in a kayak on the floor, and that porpoise would be dangling on a string from the ceiling, and they'd play that dart game. But to store and to soften the wood, they would store the porpoise in cedar water with the cedar oil in the water, and soften it in between games. Like tomorrow, let's say we play tonight and tomorrow they want to get together, they'll take and throw that porpoise in a jar of water that has cedar oil in it. Cedar oil is a preservative, helps to keep bugs away. Man, I used to love the way that smelled. Okay, so there we go. We're going to have this done in under an hour. We made these ornaments at Chester Elementary with elementary, classes, kindergarten up to 3rd grade. And because of the pandemic, and we couldn't use needles and thread, and because of bloodborne pathogens. So, you know what we did? I got a hold of some really good fabric glue and sequins and felt and had the kids use glue instead of a needle. Gee, we had a blast. And I had them singing Sugpiaq songs, being out in a kayak and hunting and throwing their arrows. Okay, now I got to get more cotton in there. Looks like I have to break this up, thin this out. I will use the eraser part of my pen or pencil to help get this in there. Want a little bit more padding here, down here. So we have a nice fat seal hanging on the tree. The game that I was telling you about is called Isuwiiq, the dark game. You can see this hanging up there, a carved out seal. And hanging from the ceiling. Making the bullseye in here. People have to sit on the floor like they're sitting in a kayak, and then someone will snap that string that would, their purpose would be hanging from the ceiling. They snap that a little bit and it looks like it's to they pretend like the porpoise is out at sea and they've got to throw their dart while the kayak is moving. Good practice for sitting in a kayak and good practice for aiming at a moving object. Okay, I'm going to go through this one more time. I'm going to tie a knot and you get to see how I tie a knot. Make sure that your thread isn't too short so that you can get that knot made. This goes down here. Flip this over to tie it. Look at how it's looking. So I'm going to make a little loop with my thread. So that I can put my needle real close to the project, come up and get that thread. I hope you can see it. With the loop as close to the project as possible so that you can put your pointer finger down right there where you want the knot, and then you pull your thread. And that makes the knot. Very close to your work. Can you see that? So let me try it again. And make that loop. Pull. There, my knot is real close, right there. Okay, question, please read that off to me from Janet.
Okay,
Or
what kind of camera are you using? It's very good.
I'm using my iPhone.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You also got a thank you for sending the materials so quickly. They really enjoyed, really love the turquoise color of the wolf fish skin.
Awesome. You got the turquoise wolf fish skin. Doesn't it feel nice?
It's really awesome, June.
Mm-hmm. And it's thick. It's surprising. It feels like deer skin. Okay, now you get to watch how I thread a needle, but first, stay hydrated. Locally made coffee beans. Wonder where they order their coffee beans to roast them. They are delicious. Kaladi Brothers. So here we go. Thread. Let me move this over here so you can see what I'm doing. Here's my thread. You can't see my right hand, but I'm gonna pull on this thread. I'm gonna hold it down with my thumb. Then I'm gonna, you can't even see my thread. There, I got it on the red. So I pull on my thread. I put some tension on it to keep it from curling up on me. So I'm pulling on that thread with my right hand to stretch it, and it keeps it from tangling as you're sewing. So there we go. I've done that. Now I get to pinch. Let me see what kind of a good background can I have for you. Okay. There's my thread. And I'll pull on the back side of the thread, and it just barely peeks out between my thumb and my pointer finger so that I can bring the eye of the needle. Ugh, I need new glasses. So that I can bring the eye of the needle to the thread. There we go. And then I'm going to double my thread, and I'm going to tie a knot so that I can continue beading. And of course, after I tie that knot, I'm going to really try not to have my knot show outside. I'm going to tuck it in between the two pieces of leather. So let me pull this so I could tie that knot. I thought I was going to go somewhere today, but the storm has developed to where I'm not going anywhere today. If I can take care of business over the phone, that's what I'll do. So here we go. I have this, and now I'm going to make a loop with the tail sticking out right here. There are different ways to tie knots, and I always get all the pictures and videos from my students who say, this is how I tie a knot. And if it works for you, do it that way. So I'm wrapping around that loop with the tail end, and I'm going to wrap several times, and then I'm going to hang on to it right here so that I can pull on my thread to make that good knot that I need to go in between the two pieces of thread. Now, when you have a lighter, you can just zap that to melt the thread if you choose to do that. Now, here I am at the very tail part, and I'm going to put my, see how I tied a knot and then I poke through and hid those where I snipped it. You want to hide that in between the two pieces of leather. Just kind of like push that in. So I want to get started here. So I'll come up here. Nah, let's do it on the back part. I changed my mind. Let me hide I'm hiding my thread, the tail, and the knot. Here, let me snip this off. It's bugging me. Yeah. Get that in there. There, the knot is hidden. So I'm going to come back up through right here again so that I can continue beading. We're almost done, and then you'll watch to see how I attach that one little band for hanging the ornament, the Isuwiiq, on the tree. Did you know that your tundra tea is a bug repellent as well? I forgot to add it in, but let me see if I could shove some tundra tea in there. Put some in there. Tundra tea is a bug repellent. Natural bug repellent. You can burn this stuff too when the mosquitoes are pretty bad out there. Sorry, I forgot to add that. Yes, Labrador tea. That's exactly what it is. We got that in there. Woohoo! I just want to take this and lift it up and smell it. So if you use the tundra tea, to make a tea out of it, and you could rinse your hair in that too. Same thing with nettles. Use the tea to rinse your hair. Man, I tell you, it adds something wonderful to your hair. Let me pull this. I love Labrador tea. There's a plant that looks like it, like the Labrador tea. And you want to make sure that when you pick it, you pick the right one. You don't pick the wrong one. You want to make sure that it's rusty colored on the underside. Then you know you've got the right plant. It smells so nice too. Almost done here. Then I'm going to put the loop on. Looks like I have to trim this. So I'll do it when I get up there. So here we go. On this bottom part right here, just to have a better grip on my sewing because it's such a tiny area. I'm just going to use 2 beads. Now, I'm going to go up here and I'm just going to put 2 beads up that way because it's too small of an area. Then I'm going to put the loop on. Oh gosh, I love this. I love what's happening here. You don't need to stuff the tail part because if you really do have a real seal in your hands, the flipper part is doesn't have very much meat in it. It's just gristly like. Don't waste anything. Eat the flippers too. Boil them up. almost done. But I have that piece there, and I just need to add a couple of more beads right here, and then I'm going to tie it off. I close to the edge, but it'll do. You can either put 1 or 2 beads. I'm going to put 1. See what it looks like with 1. Looks good, but it looks weird. There we go. I happen to have 2 beads. Yes. Didn't even use 1 strand of beads out of that hank. There. Now I'm going to tie a knot on back. How's this looking? Tie a knot. Make that loop. This goes like this. And I don't want to have, I could cut it right now, right here, but I don't want to have that tail sticking out when, when I do. So I'm just going to make a little stitch, a hidden stitch. Got that hidden stitch. I'll tight down that. Then I can cut way down here. Nothing out there. So here is the beautiful ornament for Isuwiiq. Now I want it to hang good. So right here is where I'm going to start my loop. I need more of this. And if you're going to be inserting a ribbon inside, if you would if you would rather have a ribbon here, what I do before I do beadwork to close it up is I'll insert one end of the ribbon in, I'll make my loop, insert it there, and make a couple of stitches on both sides so that my beadwork covers the stitches, and then adding beadwork and the stitches over your loop helps to make it strong so that it's not doesn't come apart. So now I'm going to make sure that I have enough length, which I do, for my loop of beads. To go at the tippy top back of my ornament. You know what? I just don't feel like I have long enough thread for what I need to do, because I might want to go back through to really strengthen the loop of thread through the beads to make sure that doesn't come apart on me. I have eyes that can't see anymore. They've become 70-year-old eyes. Here we go. Perfect. Now we talked about how good, how much iron, so much iron in the seal meat, and the omega oil is good for you. It's not bad cholesterol. It's good for your heart, good for your body, and replenishes your iron so that you have, a good blood count. Talked about baking it. You can also boil it, make soup out of it. What I like to do is I'll boil it in just a little bit of water, because it gets real foamy blood on it. Then I'll drain it, then I'll refill it with water and season it. So now I'm going to hide, I'm gonna separate this, and I'm going to, and you have to boil your meat for, you know, a good 3 hours to get it tender. So anyway, you know, just like corned beef meat. So I'm gonna hide my thread, my knot in between the two pieces of leather. So my knot is hidden back there in between. Now I can start my beadwork, but before I start my beadwork, I'm going to make a stitch to come out here in front, right there, real close to the edge. And then I'm going to open this up so that I have a good loop. Oh, how many inches is that? Let me get my ruler real quick so you see how long to make it. Then I'll be done. Then you're free to, I'm gonna make it 5 inches long. You can even go longer if you want to. Any questions or comments?
We did get a comment and question in the chat box. Rosemary says, it's beautiful. I would love to buy one of your seal ornaments. How can I do that?
Okay, so I do PayPal. And they're $30 plus $10 shipping. I have, you know what's really interesting is I've had people. So email me to junepardue@outlook.com, your email address so that I can use PayPal and include your shipping address. I stick these in a insured priority box so that people, like how I shipped
June, I will, this is Rosemary. I'll send you an email and then I'll see what colors you have available.
yeah, I have that green.
Oh, that's the one I saw. That's the one I really like, that red one.
The green one?
No, the red.
Oh, this shiny red,
Yes.
the metallic
That,
salmon.
and that salmon. Yeah, I like that. Yes.
Yeah, it's fish skin. Yeah, I'll set that aside for you.
Okay.
And let me get this so that we're going to finish this. And keep beating along. Got to get that loop in there so that it fits over a branch, the tip of a branch. And then we're done. This has been great. And you could see, well, let me pull this forward. When I hold the tip of my needle to my work, to the beads, I'm able to use my pointer finger to pull them up. And then after you've beaded for a long time and bead a lot, I can even get out of practice. This makes it so much easier for pushing your beads up, picking them up. Just take the point of your needle to your bead work. Nice little Isuwiiq project. When you're teaching the kids or even the public, you know, regular public, like those of you at T&H, Tlingit and Haida, or at the Sitka Museum, get your native name for the seal and use that to name your project so that it's a good teaching tool. Just one word. If they could learn one word in the native language, that would be good. Okay, so here we go. I'm going in between the two, right here, and coming up right there. And I'm going to make one little knot. One little knot. But because I want this to be real secure, I'm just going to go up through all of these beads one more time so that I have a good loop. Here we go. Just wrap your beads around your pointer finger so that you get your needle in between. Get through all those beads one more time. Yeah, I had a Christmas tree full of these, a little Christmas tree. They didn't last long. And I get these phone calls from people, I want one, I want one. And then the kids, the grandkids. So guess what I'm going to do with the granddaughters? They're going to come over for ornament making night. And I'll probably bake them a pirog, fish pie. So you layer your pie crust into a square dish or oblong pan or even a pie plate. Then you put a layer of cooked rice down, and then you take your salmon or halibut filleted with the bones taken out of it. Put that on top of the rice. Then put salt, pepper, and garlic powder seasoning on it. And then take your sauteed vegetables and spread that on top of it. So the sauteed vegetables in butter are shredded cabbage, one small rutabaga, one small turnip, all the Russian vegetables, and saute all of that in butter, then spread that on top of the fish, then put your pie crust over it. After you put your pie crust over it, you want to take your fingers and dab them in evaporated milk and smear your pie crust with evaporated milk. That's what makes your crust look so golden. Then you pop it in the oven at 360 degrees for as long as it takes to bake a pie, maybe up to an hour. And then you pull it out, let it sit for 15 minutes before you cut it. And then you have your fish pie to serve while you're making your Isuwiiq ornaments. So here we go. I'm making a knot back here. A couple of them, 2 good knots. Then I'm going to make a stitch. Remember, talk about hiding that tail. Now I can cut this to the end. And the ornament is done. And see where I have the loop positioned? Right here, not back here, because if you do, you're going to have a diving seal. Maybe you do want a diving seal. This is where you want it so that it hangs very nicely on your tree. Now, you don't have to make an ornament out of it. Let's say you want to make a necklace. You can make a long beaded loop or part way beaded with, hanging on a moose hide strap back there. And you could make these necklaces. Good project for the kids in the schools or with the tribes. Speaking to Janice. And it's just fun stuff to get your family around the table, draw the family in, have some really good projects going though, so that you're doing something with your family this Christmas. And Merry Christmas to everyone. Happy holidays. I'm glad you were able to join me for this fun beading project with fish skins.
Thank you, June. This has been really fun. I am not a beater, and I have to admit, I had flashbacks from my embroidery days where I always poke my fingers every time you went through. I just kind of like,
Yeah.
but it was nice to see that you didn't poke yourself once, and you did
Oh.
such beautiful work. And I enjoyed your commentary as you talked about the seal and everything else. It was wonderful. Thank you so much, and we hope to have you back with us again, doing more presentations in the future.
All righty. Thank you so much. I'll let you guys go. Cleanna, Heather, for joining us, and
Koyana June.
everyone else. Yes. Talk to you again. Bye.
Bye-bye.
you,
Thanks so
June.
much.
Mhm.
Bye.